Welcome to Betting Weekly Premier League Show. You're with Dan Roebuck alongside me, Nigel Seeley and Jack Wright. Nigel, we are in profit for the season still, but a challenging week last week. Little bit of a reality check. You can't win every single week. There were few winning favourites. You got to roll with the punches.
Got no concern whatsoever, Dan. I think, you're going to have that over a season. I think you're a bit pessimistic there, looking at saying the reality check. The reality is because we win. It was more of a rarity that we've lost. It's going to happen in weeks gone by. It's going to happen weeks come up. But as long as we win by more weeks than losing on the certain weeks as well, we're going to be in profit. So I'm not really too concerned. I mean, the main bet was the under 2.5 goals for me in that match. Yes, last week between Liverpool and Arsenal, an early goal completely changed that. Arsenal-Liverpool, early goal completely changed that. Injuries to Arsenal as well, which will come on later. And then I had the bet where it was a half-time, Brentford to be leading at half-time. They have such a good, strong record. And who would have foreseen that Ipswich would have scored 2 early goals? But, if we had another 5 minutes in half-time, if half-time would have been 55 minutes instead of 50 minutes with the 5 minutes added on in that game, we would have scored for sure. So it was a little bit of a hard one, but anyway, like I say, it's you're going to get these along the road, but we are called because we win for a reason, and we will win, no problem.
We did say, Jack, ahead of last week, it's a really good card. Fancy lots of things in all of the games. What about this week?
Yeah, I think we were unlucky, wasn't it? Look, it happens. My Villa pick as well, like last kick of the game, ruined a 2-unit play for me there. So I was quite pleased with my picks. Decent bets, right bets for me, wrong outcomes. Happens, as we say. But yeah, I actually feel more confident this week than I did last week. There's been several bets that I like, and my hardest task this week was actually narrowing them down to which was my 2-unit, 1-unit, and the ones I was going to leave out. So, yeah, super confident going in again. Let's have it and, rack some more profit back up on the board.
Yeah, tag us in at Because We Win. Tell us what you're betting. Give us your comments on the YouTube as well. Got a great response on the YouTube comments section. Likewise on Twitter. Let us know what you're betting. If you're tailing us, if you're fading us, you want to oppose us, whatever you want to do. We're usually all on hand to give us our comments on your plays and vice versa, hopefully. News flash, Nigel, the Betting Weekly newsletter, which we thought had been lost in the ether. We thought we didn't. I don't know what happened to it, but, this is on its way, I believe.
Well, we were waiting for the next World Cup, the Cup in America. We thought we might get it there, but it should be in the inbox this week. So starting the new month in November, the newsletter will be coming. Extra content from all the guys on the team here at Because We Win. All you have to do is go to bettingweeklystudios.com on the web, on the internet. Sign up there. There's a sign up post. Put your email address in, and you'll be getting the newsletter, hopefully, this weekend. Fingers crossed. Technical issues could be a problem here, but it is coming. But so is Christmas.
Brilliant stuff. Look forward to that. More content, more selections from all of the boys on the team. Let's start the roundup of all of the games when it comes to Premier League Week 10 here. We're going to kick off with the early game in England, which is at St James's Park. It's Newcastle against Arsenal. And check your kickoff times here because we're still that hour odd at the moment with the States. So instead of 7:30 Eastern, it's an 8:30 Eastern kickoff for this one. Newcastle versus Arsenal. Arsenal are minus money here, Nigel. Now, this was almost a pick'em contest 12 months ago. It came pretty much at the same stage in the calendar. There are only 6 points between the two sides this season. There was 4 points between them last year. What's happened here? Have Newcastle really regressed? Are Arsenal that much better? Why do we think that the market is framed as it is?
I don't really know, actually. I really don't know. I think Arsenal have got a little bit better and Newcastle have gone backwards, that's for sure. But nowhere near the levels of what these prices are, in my opinion. I think Arsenal are very, very short here to win this match, given the injury problems they have. Every time they take to the pitch, they seem to get another crucial player injured. And also the fact that, they haven't really got a very good record in this fixture. They went here last year and lost 1-0. And Newcastle are so strong at home, aren't they? I mean, I know they got beaten in their last home match against Brighton, but that was their only defeat at home for a long, long time. I had the stats the other day, but it was an awful long time here. Would I bet Arsenal at minus 104? I wouldn't. I don't think I would. I haven't been very, very impressed by Arsenal in the last couple of weeks. I know the injuries have been a concern for them, but I think their squad looks very weak compared to other big sides when they have these key injuries to key players. We've obviously got Gabriel and Calafiori out as well in this match as well. So Gabriel is going to be a big blow. Saliba will be coming back. But I'm not so sure whether Arsenal are bet here at -104. I look at it, and if I'm going to have a play here, I'm looking at the under 2.5 goals. I know you laugh about me with the unders, but there's going to be a few overs in this show, so don't worry about that. But I'm going to start with an under here. 5 of Newcastle's 6 matches at home this season have been under 2.5 goals is cashed. And Arsenal, 6 of their matches on the road, 4 of them have cashed. And if you take the 2 out of the equation that have gone overs, one of them was in the Preston match in the Cup last night. The other one was a 2-2 draw against Manchester City. So this is a fixture that doesn't really see many goals. Newcastle won it 1-0 last season. I think both of them are going to pay a bit of respect to each other. I think Arsenal will be worried about this trip. Arsenal fans will be worried about this trip. Newcastle need a performance. They're desperate for performance. They haven't been putting the ball in the back of net, creating chances. They created about 25 different shots in the match against Brighton, but couldn't put the ball in the back of net. Isak has been accused of not putting his chances away. They had a big win against Chelsea in midweek, a 2-0 win in the Carabao Cup. But on the money line, I think this is really, really hard. I probably would have to go for under 2.5. And if you look at Arsenal's fixtures, I mean, it's a tough run for Arsenal. They've got to go to Milan to play Inter Milan on Wednesday in the Champions League, which is a huge, huge match because Arsenal aren't guaranteed a spot in that top 8. They've got to get something from that, and then they've got to go to Chelsea away. And going to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge is a difficult ask as well. So I don't know. I'm slightly leaning towards the draw here. I couldn't bet Arsenal at -104 given the injuries they have. And I think my lean in this match would be under 2.5 goals at even money. I'm surprised that under 2.5 goals isn't the favourite. I thought out of the 2 options, over and under, I thought under would be the favourite, but it's not. So my lean would be under 2.5 goals in a real tricky match to start with.
Yeah, not too many times we see under 2.5 goal as favourite in that market, just because of the nature of the league at the moment. Now I know you can't back Arsenal at minus money, but I know someone who might. Yeah.
Well, I'll put a disclaimer in here saying I'm going to put 0 money on this game whatsoever. I think it's a very, very tough one to call, but we are putting leans forward. So I'll probably go in opposition with Nigel on this particular game. I think there might be goals in it purely because Arsenal's defensive back line would suggest that Newcastle will find a way to score. Isak back, scored in both his last 2 games, is boast for them. We didn't put him up on the show, though, did we? So that's probably why he started scoring. And Gordon as well, who missed that last game in the league, but was back last night in the Carabao Cup. So that's a big boost for them. They're 2 best attackers, I would suggest, back playing against an Arsenal defence, which is certainly patchwork, to say the least. So how it ended against Liverpool was quite alarming, I'd guess, for Arsenal fans out there. But Arsenal got to win this, haven't they? Really, they could go. If they don't win this, they could find themselves 8 points behind Manchester City at the end of the weekend. And as Nigel says, going to Chelsea next, it could be an absolute mountain for them to climb to try and get back in the title race if things don't go well for them. So I think they might nick it. As I said, I won't be investing in it. But if I had to put a lean forward, I would say that Arsenal win a game, maybe 2-1, something like that. So but not confident in this one at all. Let's move on.
I don't want to. I know Jack has had a brilliant start to the season, and at the end we do the graphics, and he's absolutely trouncing on the graphics. But his head-to-head record against me is not very good here, so I have to just point that in there, Dan. So whenever he's taken me on the challenge and disagreed with me on the match, he's usually gone in my favour. Jack is the man in profit for sure from the shows, but in the head-to-head with me, it's like a tennis player. Whenever he goes up against someone, he knows he's got the mental advantage of him. He goes to pieces. Whenever Jack has about head-to-head battle, he goes to jelly. His legs go to jelly.
He might need.
Nigel was actually being very kind there, saying, saying it's not that great. It's woeful. I think I'm like 0-4 or something like that. But there you go. Every dog has its day. Apparently, we'll see.
Look, we put up leans for every single game. Some of them aren't particularly confident. This one falls into that category. Ipswich against Leicester is an 11 a.m. Eastern kickoff. Just a little bit more detail on this one because it is a real relegation battle, this one, even though we're only in October or November by the time this game kicks off. Ipswich are favourites here, Nigel. I mean, they're minus 200 to go down. Leicester are minus 137 to go down. Leicester are plus 210 to win this game. I mean, Ipswich have to go for this. I mean, do they change their style? Do they? Because if they don't beat Leicester at home, I mean, what is in store for them for the rest of the season? I don't know how this manifests itself in terms of bets or leans that you might have here. But I mean, even Leicester have got to go for this one, haven't they?
Yeah, you would think so. You would think so. But Leicester are in a position where they've got a little bit of a gap between the bottom three, and a draw might not be a bad result for Leicester. If for Ipswich they've got to win, they've got to get wins. You know, there was last week against Brentford. How they never come out with anything on that was just incredible, and an absolute crazy match in a 4-3 match. But there's a lot of shrewdies out there, like true betters, who still I think Ipswich are a lot better than their league position suggests. I mean, I look at the metrics on them so far, and I'm not really convinced by them, but there's a lot of people who think they're a good manager. They've got a lot of injuries, got 10 players out at the moment, Ipswich, and they reckon when they come back, they will be a side that will pick up points. But the same shrewdies have a massive negative towards Leicester. There's a huge negative towards Leicester because they give up so many chances, concede so many goals, are a bit gung-ho, been very fortunate in some of their wins they've had and some of the points they've had where coming from losing positions and won. And the shrewdy out there believes that Ipswich is the better proposition going forward rather than Leicester. I think they're both crap. That's my opinion. But there you go. But I mean, I've bet them both. One of my best bets of the season is the three teams to go up last season to go straight back down at 6-1.
Yeah,
that's what I bet. I bet Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton all to get relegated, and I'm really happy with that position. I also took a bet from someone who wanted to bet Ipswich to stay in the Premier League, which I think was a good bet to lay out the price. But I think this one here, two sides who really have to get something from the games, particularly Ipswich. Ipswich have to get something from it. Are they good enough, though? That's the trouble. They give up so many chances. And I just think here, this is a match that you've just got to play on the goal angle. I said I've got some overs. This is one of my overs. If you look at Brentford this season, last week, 3-4 against Brentford, a loss, losing 4-3 at Brentford. And in a crazy game, 2-0 up, last kick of the game, they lose it 4-3. Manchester United in midweek played Leicester 5-2, another wild game. If you look at Leicester on the road this season, it's been kamikaze stuff. 5 out of 5 over 2.5 goals, 4 out of 5 over the 3.5, and 3 out of 5 over 4.5. So that's what they do. They try to hit you on the break. The pace of Vardy, still at his age, scoring goals. So I think there's goals in this match. Over 2.5 goals is -139. Probably a little bit too low for a lean here, but if you're going to do a parlay with the totals, I put that in. So I think I'm going to go for over 3.5 at +190 because I do like those games where I've said this before and I think it's a good strategy. When you think there's goals in the matches or you think there's not going to be goals in the match, the jump between 2.5 and 3.5 is quite a big number. So it goes from -139 to +190. 4 of the 5 road matches for Leicester have cashed over 3.5 goals. And at +190, I think if you're going to have a little bet, lean on this one, we go over 3.5. But I do think it's a must-win match for Ipswich. But like I say, I don't like either of these two teams long term. But the betting public and the syndicate money and the shrewd money, they have Ipswich rated almost higher than Leicester, a bit higher than Leicester on what we've seen so far.
If there's going to be goals, as Nigel predicts, and I fully agree, then there's got to be goal scorers. Jack.
Yeah, I think there's goals in it as well. So I've gone with Ipswich's main man this season, who's been very, very good. That's Liam Delap. Decent price, +180 to score at any time. A couple of people made comments recently as far as goal scorers. Do you go first goal scorer? Do you go anytime goal scorer? And the rule of thumb, as we've said before, is if you think there's going to be a lot of goals in it, you might as well go anytime. If there's not going to be, then go first. So as I said, we think there should be a few in this one. So Liam Delap, he started on the bench in that Brentford game, did come off the bench to score and also hit the post when it was 4-3. So he's been very, very good. 5 goals this season in a side that's really struggled, and they've been playing some very decent sides. I think that's a very good return. He scored in 3 of his last 4 as well. So in very good form. And this is effectively a bit of a championship clash, isn't it? So we both, again, all expect these two probably to be plying their trade in the championship next season again. And I think Delap's a very good player at that level, certainly. So when he's taken on these lower ranked sides, he should come to the fore. 20 million quid spent on him. So I say it wasn't exactly a bargain basement pickup from Manchester City. And he's proven his worth to be scoring goals in the top flight. And we're not getting too many chances. But I do expect Ipswich to come flying out of the traps. A bit more like what they were like last season and go for Leicester here. And Leicester are a big threat on the break, as Nigel said. So, it suits goals, certainly, in this one, and goal scorers. So, take your pick. But mine is Liam Delap.
A more confident lean from Jack when it comes to the goal scorer play in that Ipswich-Leicester fixture. We have got one official play on a Saturday match. Nigel's going to provide it for us. It's the Southampton-Everton game that we're looking at here. This is another 11 a.m. Saturday game, Eastern. Saints are favourites and have been backed overnight, plus 155. Everton plus 175. I can't get my head round the fact, Nigel, that Southampton, bottom of the table, are favourites to win this game. Everton unbeaten in 6. I'm not saying Everton are brilliant, but somehow we've got to get with Everton. It's proved profitable recently, and your play is just that, isn't it? You're not going to go on the money line here, but a slightly cautious approach.
Yeah, I'm going to be cautious. I would say the usual thing, that's the kiss of death that you just said that, but I've become a bit of a broken record now. I think that joke has sailed, but I am now very concerned about
that joke
my
isn't
bet.
funny anymore.
But I know it's not funny. It's never been funny in the first place, but it's true. It's a fact. It's not a joke. It's actually a reality. It's a fact. It's a fact. But you said the other day I was banging on the live show, banging on about a 3-1 winner, giving it to me. Anyway, I'm banging on about this one here. I agree with you. I can't believe that Southampton, the favourites, they have been bet overnight, which shocked me again because I'm going to go for Everton draw no bet as my 1 unit pick here. It was minus 109. It's now drifted out to minus 103. And judging by where the market is going, it might even get to even money or plus money here because there is a market move for Southampton. I just don't understand it. Played 9, 1 draw, 8 defeats, heavy defeats as well, conceding a huge amount of goals. The manager won't change his style, won't change his the way he plays, which means he's going to concede goals. The only reason I can see why Everton are on the drift and Southampton are being bet is that Dwight McNeil might miss this match. That's the only reason I can see. And he's been the key man. Jack's gone to him so many times for assists and goals and various different markets. He's been Everton's best player this season. And he is a doubt. I read this morning it was 50-50, but if that may be team news related if McNeil doesn't play, but you would still think that Sean Dyche would be able to bring his side down here and contain the Southampton side, who really offer very little to me. Everton on a good run. We said at the beginning of the season that they are a lot better than their results suggested. Now they're getting the results that their performances are suggesting. They're not entertaining, but they're efficient. The match against Fulham, they were extremely lucky. Fulham, were the better side, and then they scored late on and got a draw. But that's the way Everton play. We know what we're going to expect from here. It's going to be Southampton trying to take the game to Everton. Everton will try to use their extra physicality and rough them up. And from set pieces, I think Southampton are diabolical. So it is a concern, Dwight McNeil not being in the side. But I still think the price is tempting enough. And if it does get bigger, it's even more of a tempting price. So instead of taking them on the Everton on the money line, in case that team news doesn't work in our favour, I do think that approaching even money on the draw no bet market, where we'll get our money back if an Everton win, and the only way we lose is if Southampton get their first win of the season at the 10th attempt, then I'm going to take it. And also the other thing is, well, Southampton put quite a decent side out in midweek in the Carabao Cup. It was quite a strong side. A lot of players who featured in that, a lot of players had the luxury of resting players. Southampton didn't. They come through, they're in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, and they've had an extra match in midweek compared to Everton, who've had the extra rest. So Everton for me, minus 103 on the draw no bet market, I think is a great bet with a push if the match is a draw.
Yeah, we're hoping for a narrow Everton win, I think, here, because I'm going to back Everton on the money line, certainly at plus 175. Jack, you don't think there's going to be too much goal-scoring activity for your lean in this one?
That's right. Everton, I mentioned at the top of the show, there's a couple of selections that I really liked that I left out. Everton were one of those. And that was down pretty much to the guy that I have talked about a lot this season, Dwight McNeil, being a doubt. And it was enough for me to say, well, I've got better options for me to go with. I think Everton still win it. I think it will be a tight game. I can draw a lot of parallels with Everton going to Ipswich a couple of weeks ago. And people going, oh, Southampton have got a chance here. They played Man City last week. Now they can go and play Everton. And then it comes a little bit of a reality check. This is the Premier League, and the standard, even towards the bottom, for these newly promoted sides, is hard for them to match up to. And I think Everton have got far too much know-how for Southampton. Will lay traps for Southampton's game. As Nigel said, the physicality and the aggression that Everton can play with will overpower Southampton. Set piece is a big thing. I'd expect McNeil to play, actually. I think they'll get him patched up and out, even if he only plays 60, 65 minutes in it. I think that'll be enough. So his threat from set pieces and his ability to drift in and strike from range is paramount for Everton and what they're doing this season. But even with all of that, I think they might nick it. I just don't see Southampton scoring. So yeah, my play under 2.5 goals. I was surprised to see it at plus money. Southampton struggle. They dodged a bullet in midweek. They nearly threw that one away against Stoke. So Everton with the rest, I think they will have enough here and keep it tight, nick it, and so I think that plus money unders is a nice play.
Just one thing, Dan, before we move on to the next match. When Everton went to Ipswich, they were plus 180 with Bet Rivers, and they're plus 175 against Southampton. I think Southampton are a lot worse. So it's more or less exactly the same price.
100%.
And there is money coming from Southampton. They are a better side, and they went to Ipswich and won 2-0 as well. So I think that's a little bit of a wrong price. Team news related, I'm sure is.
I think that's a great comparison. I mean, if you know, and this is what we look for. And look, Everton are a bet for me. Draw no bet for Nigel is an official play. Just to lean on the unders for Jack. We've got some other 3 o'clock kickoffs. We're going to rattle through these. We're going to get some leans from the boys on the Forest West Ham, Bournemouth, Man City, and Liverpool Brighton games. We're going to start with the Forest West Ham game. Jack, Forest just a 1 Premier League loss. West Ham probably lucky against United. What's the lean?
I think probably is an underestimate, isn't it? They should have been 3 or 4 down at half time. Got a bit of a dodgy penalty. You saw how much it meant to Lopetegui at the end. He was proper celebrating that win. It was massive for him and obviously proved fatal for Erik ten Hag. It wouldn't have been a massive surprise to see the boot or the literal boot on the other foot if United had won that one and West Ham had slipped to another defeat. But they've not been impressive this season. They have struggled, and Lopetegui struggled to get those new signings gelling and performing well. And in Forest, they've got a side that are just doing really, really well. Nice and consistent. A big win for them last Friday, having played on the Monday to go again on the Friday and go to Leicester and convincingly win that 1-3-1. 2 more goals for Chris Wood, who's on absolute fire for them. And so obviously he's been a popular play for us this show as well. And they've got a goal scorer in him, and that's something that West Ham really haven't got. Bowen's not quite been firing. Yeah, he scored from the penalty spot last week. But I just think that with Forest defence, this more sort of direct West Ham style will suit those 2 Forest centre-backs as well. And I could see this being another tight but win for Forest. I don't make them a plus money bet. I'd have them more kind of near even money, but certainly possibly even a minus money play. So for me, at plus 112, that would be my lean.
Nigel, what you got for us in this game?
I'm disagreeing with Jack again here. I'm going to take West Ham plus a quarter of a goal at minus 106. And I think it's all team news related here. James Ward-Prowse can't play. This is parent club, so he's not eligible to play for Nottingham Forest. Morgan Gibbs-White again is a doubt. And Chris Wood's rated 50-50 for this match. So I think it's team news here. I think if those 3, if you're ahead of the team news, then there's going to be a big negative towards Nottingham Forest here, and West Ham will be bet. And I think it's one of these things, you look, this time of the season, you look at teams, you think to yourself, well, one of them's overachieved in 7th position, one of them's underachieved. How much do you rate the first 10 match form? Are they going to come back to the norm, or have we got it wrong? And I think Forest will gradually come back to the norm, and I think West Ham will get better. So I think this is an opportunity to get with West Ham here. And I'm going to take West Ham plus a quarter of a goal at minus 106. And it will be stronger, obviously, if that team news comes out. But this is a big one. If Chris Wood doesn't play for Forest, then I can't see him scoring at all here, especially without the ability and the assist from Ward-Prowse and Gibbs-White if they're not playing as well. I think they're their best 3 players. If those 3 aren't playing well, from an offensive point of view, not from a defensive point of view, but if those 3 are out, then West Ham have got to be a bet.
Let's see if we get some difference of opinion on the Bournemouth-Man City game here. City are heavy minus money. Bournemouth plus 460 or thereabouts here. Jack, value sort of gone on both teams. Just gone. No, it didn't happen last time against Southampton, but you're looking at minus 159 if you want to play that. I mean, the Asian handicap line seems to have gone as well because you're only getting a goal start with Bournemouth. So I don't know. Fading City seems to be a thing of early season. What's your take on this one and your lean?
Yeah, we said it was tough last week. This one's possibly tougher. I was looking at it, and again, my initial instinct would have been to go on a plus handicap for Bournemouth, but I can't see them. I can't see Man City not winning it, so therefore I'd be playing for a push really at best. So what's the point in that? Obviously, no point. And I was looking through, and I then went for, well, let's look at a goal scorer. And Phil Foden's got an incredible record in this fixture. He scored in each of the last 5 meetings between the 2 sides, but I kept a bit of an eye on the team news last night, and he did start, and a couple of the players got taken off at half time, and he came out for the second half and played another sort of 10 or 15 minutes. So that would possibly point to him starting on the bench, but one to look at if he does come on in play, given his record against them. But while I looked at what his price was, I saw that Erling Haaland was priced up at minus 109, and I thought that's a bit odd. That's the sort of price I'd expect him to be against the top sides, and Arsenal or Liverpool, those kind of teams, not a Bournemouth who give up lots and lots of chances. He's not got a great record against them, but it's Erling Haaland. It's got to come to an end at some point in time. So again, another lean. I was very surprised at that price for him, given his, I don't need to go through his scoring record. It's obvious. And at minus 109, I think City win it. He got the only goal against last week, and expect him to get on the score sheet in this one.
It does seem big, that, doesn't it? He's unearthed a gem there, Nigel, hasn't he, Jack, with Haaland?
Well, yeah, it's a big price. It's a very, very big price. You're not going to get that
big,
around. You're not going to get that a lot around. But I've gone for Foden actually to score at any time with that record. I looked at the record. I've done some digging, and the fact that I think Haaland's only scored one goal against Bournemouth, and in that period of time, Man City have scored something like 22 goals, which is incredible.
Do you reckon that is factored in, Nigel? That's factored into
I don't know. It must be something like that, mustn't it? Because you think they've been winning 6-0, 4-0, 4-1s, 5-0, and Haaland's got one goal. That must be. And also, I don't think he played a lot of them. I think he come off the bench. And right. They've met before Champions League games. This is before a Champions League game as well. You've got to remember that. So if City are potentially 2-0 up, then there is a chance that Haaland will be protected, because that probably factored into the price more than the record against him. But Jack said it absolutely. The 5 goals from 5 against Foden. He's only ever played against Bournemouth 5 times, and he scored 5 goals, and not 5 goals like 3 in 1. Every single match he scored. Sometimes you say, he scored 5 in the last 5, and he scored 4 in 1 and 1 in another. You can use that stat to whichever way you wanted to be. But Foden scored in every time he's played against Bournemouth. So. We need him to start, but I went for him to score at any time at plus 188, just because of that great record. But obviously with Pep, you've got no idea what the team is, so you've got to wait for the team news. City will win. Bournemouth obviously won against Arsenal last time out, but they were helped by the referee. They helped by the sending off of in that match as well of Saliba. So City will win, but we've got to look for a goal scorer, and I've gone for Foden, and Jack's gone for Haaland. Between us, we might have all score.
I reckon we'll cash. One of them will go in. 45-7 the aggregate scoreline, City against Bournemouth in the Premier League, best in Premier League history, incidentally. Quickly on Liverpool, Brighton, Jack, what you got here? They met in midweek, same again?
No, I don't think so. That was a bit wild, wasn't it? I did initially look at this one, be both teams to score no, or Brighton not to score, and that was quite a big plus money. I think it was plus 130. Given Liverpool's really, really strong defensive record. But Brighton do just seem to find a way to score against most teams. And so they are super attacking. We saw it last week when they were through on a 4-on-1 opportunity and messed it up against Wolves. But what I have gone for here is for Liverpool to win at half-time and full-time. I expect Liverpool to be far too good for Brighton. I think the Brighton style of play suits Liverpool's perfectly. This was nearly a play as well. It's plus 105. That's my lean. Of their 3 home wins this season in the league, Liverpool have been winning at half-time and full-time in all 3 of those. Obviously, the one that didn't land was the fact when they got actually beaten by Nottingham Forest outright. So they do tend to look to get off to a quick start. And say under Slot, they have been very controlled once they do get in front. So I think they will certainly keep it a lot tighter than that makeshift side that we saw in midweek. But yeah, Liverpool win it to me, and they get off early, get the job done ahead of Europe in the week.
Half-time, full-time, just over even money for that one. Nigel?
Yeah, Liverpool obviously before Champions League matches haven't really played that well actually. They got beat by Nottingham Forest, they struggled against Wolves. They played right against Chelsea, but then 2 of the 3 matches they weren't at it. And they've got a big Champions League match in midweek by Leverkusen and Alonso coming to Anfield in a return. So it's a big match for Liverpool. So that they're going to have one eye on that. And that puts me off anything to do with handicaps or anything to do with Liverpool related to that big match in midweek. They're obviously top of the Champions League standings at the moment, the new league format. They want to keep that record going. Goals recently between these two sides, obviously midweek in the Cup, it was a 3-2 win as well. Brighton this season have been the goals kings. I mean, they've conceded at least 2 in 6 of their last 7 matches and scored at least 2 in 6 of their last 7 matches as well. So they really have upped their excitement level. If you're a season ticket holder down there at the Amex, you've had a brilliant season so far, and their form is great. They're great to watch. So I think this is 2 attacking sides, 2 managers that I think will go at it. I think it'll be a good watch. I looked at the over 2.5. I said no, and I went to the over 3.5 again, which was plus 102. I think that's got to be a bet for me. I like goals here. Just can't see how this can't produce goals between these two sides, but be careful of Liverpool. ahead of Champions League matches. You wouldn't be making much money on this season by betting them. And obviously, Bayer Leverkusen in midweek is as big as it gets for Liverpool. So, yeah, going to go for over 3.5 goals.
Saturday, 1:30 Eastern, which is tea time in the UK. Wolves versus Crystal Palace. We've got Nigel's 2-unit play here.
Sunday, isn't it, Dan? Sunday.
I thought it was a Saturday, isn't it?
Is it Saturday?
I've got Saturday down, but do you know?
Oh,
what?
sorry.
I get these games.
What am I thinking about?
Saturday, 1:30. Look, Wolves are plus 160 and Palace are plus 180 here, Nigel. Again, this is one that I look at and I think, are the prices right here? How much of that Palace price is because of their League Cup win at Villa? I sort of tend to think Wolves have been a bit unlucky. You can massage this game with those prices any way you want. I tend to think that someone's, one of those prices is very wrong. What's your take on it? You've got your 2U play here.
Well, I think it's more to do with the win against Tottenham than the win against Villa. The win against Villa had a very weak side out, a lot of fixtures. That's not the priority for Unai Emery. Villa are on a different trajectory now than winning the Carabao Cup. They're doing so well in Europe. So that's not an important factor for them. But the win against Tottenham was good. But that was at home. And Palace at home sometimes can get rocking if they're playing well on the road. They dip. But they're saying that they won here last season. But I've been very critical of Wolves, and we've got a guy who watches shows, a Wolves fan every week, and he gives me his opinion and lets me know what he thinks. And I've been very critical of Wolves this season. But what I've seen in the last couple of weeks, I can see massive improvements from them. They look better defensively. They've got players back in their defensive positions. They look good going forward. Cunha's scoring goals as well. The Brazilians got goals in them as well. So there's definitely a transition for me in Wolves, and they've got 2 back-to-back matches now, which I feel will define their season. Crystal Palace at home and then Southampton at home, and they've got to get at least 4 points from these 2 matches to really kick-starting their season. I think they will. They were so unlucky against Man City, weren't they? They played really well. Kept Haaland. I've never seen a Dawson keep Haaland. Was it? Yeah, it was kept Haaland quiet all through that match. No defender's done better than that on him all year. Or for even last season as well, he hardly have a shot. And I think they're looking to improve. They're a side to get with, I think, at a big price. I said last week on this show, I said they're going to beat someone at a big price. They battled away again in a 2-2 draw, never give up against Brighton. And I just think here that at home, knowing what they've got to do, they've got to get something in this match. And I'm going to go with Wolves here. I really am. I'm not convinced by Palace as of yet. Again, I mentioned in the other match we spoke about in the midweek match that they played a fixture in midweek, Palace, and they put a strong side out again. Eze played, Wharton played. They're 6 or 7 players that will play here. So Wolves have had an extra rest as well. And I think here I like Wolves. I like them on the money line, but again I'm going to play it safe. And my 2-unit play is Wolves on the draw no bet market. I think it's minus 103 again, so it's around about even money. I like Wolves. I like what I've seen in the last couple of weeks, and I think they're going to beat someone and give someone a good beating, and it could be this weekend. But I'm going to play it a little bit safe and go for 2 units on Wolves. Draw no bet. If it's a draw, we get our money back. Huge match for Wolves. Next 2 matches, massive, and they've got to get 4 points. I think they could win them both, and then we see a very different Wolves going into the next month. But I think the end of what has been a good month for them with a win.
We're also talking positivity with Jack's play when it comes to Wolves as well, but we're going to goal scorer here. This is an interesting thing, a big one. I like this player.
Thank you very much.
There's the kiss of death.
Let's roll with it. It'll turn one of these days. I hope our Wolves fans turn the volume right up here, and I look forward to them in the comments with this pro-Wolves stance that we're taking. And I agree, Wolves was another bet for me that was right on the short list, and I just couldn't quite pull the trigger on them because I just want to see them actually show a little bit more to win. But massive thing for Palace. Eze and Wharton played in that cup game, but they both went off in the first half. So both could be out for this one. And if Eze's missing, then again, we talked about team news, expect a plunge for Wolves if that is the case. And he doesn't make it for this because he's obviously a massive part of a Palace attack, which has misfired already this season anyway. I've gone down a route of looking at a goal scorer, big odds. I've gone for Ryan Aït-Nouri, and he is plus 600. Yeah, plus 600. So a very similar play and reasoning why I went for Gvardiol a couple of weeks ago at the same price, coincidentally against Wolves. And it's the fact he's now, in the last couple of games, he's played wide on the left. They've changed to a back three, Wolves. It's worked for them as far as their results are concerned, but it's also allowed him to focus on what he's good at, getting forward, getting into the box, getting into attacking areas. He scored 3 goals in his last 4 league games, which is crazy for that kind of player who, for say a couple of those, were playing as left back. He had one other game where he was played as an out-and-out midfielder on the left when the back four and someone else was left back. That was against Forest. He had 2 shots on target in that game. So expect him to be, say again, very, very advanced in the system that they can play. And he can really exploit Palace because Munoz is their right back. Their right back plays very advanced himself. So there'll be a lot of space in behind him. And I've looked in recent sides, and this goes back more than these last 2 games. But in midweek against Palace, left back for Villa, Matson, so reserve left back, had 2 shots in that game. In the game I watched on TV, the Forest game Monday night, a couple of weeks ago, Moreno had 2 shots from left back. Left side of midfielder, Dominguez had a couple of shots, and Callum Hudson-Odoi had 2 shots from left midfield, left wing. So everything goes down that side. There's opportunities, and I think Ryan Norrie could actually take advantage of that at a massive price. Risk averse, if you're a little bit like that, then you can take his for like shots or shots on target. He's plus money for a shot on target. But generally speaking, yeah, when he shoots, he gets it on target and he scores. His last 3 goals have come from having 1 shot on target and scoring with it. He gets in the right place at the right time, and also he can create his own chances because he's very good on the ball at taking players on. So he could have a big game here, in one that I expect Wolves to do well in. So yeah, Ryan Norrie at a big price, plus 600 as a lean.
Oh, lovely analysis that. But it's only a lean, not an official play. But I suggest
so many good picks.
They're all good picks. Apart from Arsenal away at Newcastle. Spurs Villa, Jack, you've got your 2-unit play here. Spurs at minus money. You're never making cash here if you're playing Spurs when they're odds on in English parlance here. And your 2-unit play features siding with Villa. I mean, they're plus 270 to win this on the money line, Jack, but your 2-unit play is a bit more cautious.
I can't believe I can take a double chance here. So plus half a goal start for Aston Villa at minus 110. And I think that's a hugely disrespectful price for a side that have consistently shown, and I keep feeling like I'm repeating myself here. This is like watching catch up Premier League show, because obviously I backed Villa last week. I think they should have beaten Bournemouth. They battered them. They had a goal disallowed. They had plenty of chances and then conceded with the last kick of the game right at the death. So, but this is Tottenham we're talking about. And if you want to go to a side that the result last night for me was perfect. Tottenham beating Manchester City, a very much rotated Man City, but a fairly strong Tottenham side. Still no Son at the moment as well, which is quite a key thing for him. But I just looked at this and I think that the price for me is just wrong. Under Emery in the Premier League, 72 games that Villa have played, and he's turned the club around since that Steven Gerrard time. No transitional period. He literally hit the ground running and has turned them into a top 4 side. They've won 40 of those games, only lost 17, averaging 1.88 points per game. And you look at Spurs over that period of time, and they've picked up like 20 odd points less. Only City, Arsenal, and Liverpool have got more points than Villa over the time that Emery's been in charge. And I just looked at the prices, and as I say, Arsenal went to Tottenham this season, probably the most comparable game that they've had, because you look at Spurs, they've had Everton at home, Brentford and West Ham, and those sides were like sort of plus 500, plus 700. Arsenal were plus 164. And Villa, you're looking at here, of plus 265. They were plus 182 when they went there last season and won. And let's not forget, they don't even need to win for this bet to cash. A draw or a Villa win, and this is a full win. And I just think Spurs struggled with Palace's intensity last week, and Villa, who rested all their key players in that cup midweek defeat, they'll be back and firing, and their intentions this season are a top 4 finish, which they're in pole position to do, and obviously is far progression in the Champions League, which they're joint top of with Liverpool at the moment. Everything else is a little bit of a side story. That's the key focus, and I think they can go to Tottenham and still prove that Spurs are very Spursy and do have a soft underbelly. They struggled against the better sides last season, and I think they will do this season. Their only defeat at home was against Arsenal, and so I think Villa can go there and at least avoid defeat at that price. So that's my 2-unit play.
Surprised at the prices, Nigel? Would you make Spurs a little bit bigger in your book?
I think the bookmakers are always cautious of teams weeks before Champions League and weeks after Champions League, and the big movers like to oppose those teams in Champions League action. So I think that's why that's there. But saying that, Tottenham have a very, very tough match in midweek. They go to Galatasaray in the Europa League as well. So both of these managers need to win a trophy, don't they? And for Tottenham, I mean, their best chance for a trophy is in the Europa League, where they're the favourites, or in the Carabao Cup, where they've just knocked out the favourites in Manchester City. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Tottenham's league form dip a little bit as we get on in the season. I mean, they're not going to make the Champions League in the Premier League. They can hopefully get in the Europa League again. That's their best they can hope for. But Ange Postecoglou's got to win a trophy. So it's going to be important for him to do so. Both of these sides play in European midweek. As I said, Tottenham goes to Galatasaray, Aston Villa go to Bruges. I looked at this match and I thought goals, but the line is 3.5. And then I looked at the stats. I mean, if you look at Aston Villa this season on the road, 6 of their 6 matches over 2.5 as cash. Every game has been over 2.5 goals. But if you looked at the 3.5 goal line, only 2 of the 6 have gone over 3.5 goals. It shows you the massive difference between 2.5 and 3.5. I'd be very wary if I was betting the over 3.5 goals here. I think my lean here, and I can't believe it's the biggest price of all 3 outcomes, but I think going into a European match where Villa are at the top of their Champions League group and of the standings, and Tottenham are second in the Europa League group, to get the draw here at 3-1, the biggest of all 3 outcomes, wouldn't surprise me at all to see this be a 1-1 draw. And my lean here is the draw at 3-1. I think 3-1's a big price for a draw.
I think you make a brilliant point about Spurs in the cup competitions. As the season wears on, if they are going deep in the Europa League, and obviously the Carabao Cup comes around fairly early, but around all of those fixtures, if it starts to drop away from them in terms of trying to get top 4, I mean, they're going to be opposable, aren't they?
If he finishes 7th in the league and wins the Europa League and he wins the Carabao Cup, it'll be considered a brilliant season for Tottenham.
Absolutely.
And his statement that he always wins in his second season, he's got to do it. He's got to do it now. So I think that becomes a priority. Not necessarily this match, but I do take Jack's point.
But as the season goes on, I think you're right.
But Tottenham, that Tottenham Man City game yesterday was a high intensity match. It wasn't like the kids who played for Man City were quality players. And they gave Tottenham a real test. So it wasn't like they had an easy match. They've gone through the rigour for 90 minutes there in a match that had the crowd were crazy. So that takes a lot out of it. So I think the levels will drop here. Villa are a tempting price, but I think the draw here at 3-1 is too big. Given the fact they both have to go to Europe as well, just get a point, and that's not bad for both.
That'll suit.
I'll take the draw.
Villa have 3 massive away matches. They've had a lot of home matches, 3 massive away matches. Now they've got Tottenham, then they go to Brugge, and then they got Liverpool away. We'll know a lot about them in the next 3 matches.
We are running massively over, so we better get to Sunday's main game, which is Manchester United against Chelsea. United, this is another one here, Nigel. United here, plus 155, Chelsea plus 160. I mean, I don't know how United are favourites here. I mean, what Nigel, what Eric Ten Hag's been given the boot as we thought he would do. What do we do with all the United data here? How when we talk about the stats and the expected goals, can we still reference them, or is it just a new era now? Have we got to wait until the new manager comes in? It's the same set of players, so do all the stats still count? This is one that punters have got to try and bettors have got to try and work out over the next few games how different United are going to be.
Well, it's whether the players down tools because of the manager, really. They were underperforming. Did they underperform because they just aren't good enough players collectively, or did they underperform because they wanted the manager gone? You don't know. Were they playing for the manager? I suspect more the latter, because what we saw in midweek, we saw players coming at Casemiro sticking one from 25 years in the cock. Bruno Fernandes having the best game of this season, the crowd going mad. It was just like, he's gone, let's have a party. It was like my ex-wife when I left the house and on the Friday night, they had a party. But it was a good night. It was great. So I heard. But anyway, I think it's a bit like that, really. I mean, that's the kind of thing that he's gone now, but now he's gone, and we can blame him and we can start playing. And I think this is all to do. I think if Amaron gets the job, if they reckon they've announced the appointment before this match, if he's in attendance or he's there, there's going to be a feel-good factor around for the new manager. I could see why Man United are the favourites, because there is that bounce back on new managers. Chelsea are much better at home than they are on the road. I have been impressed with Chelsea this season, but I think at Stamford Bridge they're a match for anybody. But I got a thing here. I mean, I wouldn't really. I'm looking at it. I'd probably go with Man United draw no bet here at minus 110. I think we've got to get with them because we saw a huge change in midweek. I know it was against Leicester, but I've got a same game parlay for you. I've got over 2.5 goals. I fancy goals. Bruno Fernandes to have over 1.5 shots. Nicholas Jackson to have over 1.5 shots. And Manchester United to get the most corners. They're quite high in the corners. I think they're fourth in the corner market this season. They do get a lot of corners. They get a lot of corners at home. And that plays plus 440. So I read that back quickly again. Over 2.5 goals. I fancy goals. Fernandes to have more than 1.5 shots. Jackson to have more than 1.5 shots. And Man United to get the most corners. Plus 440. Same game parlay. Bet Rivers. But I do think Man United on the draw no bet would also be my lean.
We've got Jack's Hot Dog as well. And it also features one of the elements, sort of your same game parlay, Jack.
Yeah, if you don't shoot, you don't score. And I'm taking Nicholas Jackson to score here as my hot dog at plus 230. I think that's a big price. Obviously, the main focus is on Cole Palmer, rightly so. We talk about him a lot in that role, but not only is he good for scoring goals, he's good for assists as well. We saw that last week where he was sensational in that particular role. And I think the stats for Jackson have really gone under the radar. He scored last week. He's now got 6 for the season, and what he had last season was the stick that he was beaten with, is that he missed lots and lots of chances, and again, probably rightly so. This season, his expected goals is 6, his actual goals is 6, would suggest that he's taken his chances better this season. He's still only 23, so he's young, first season in England last season. And I also think that when you look at his goals, 4 of his 6 goals have come away from home. That's possibly because he's a little bit more relaxed away. He's not got the pressure of the Stamford Bridge crowd on him at home, and he can just take things a bit more instinctively. So I think that's quite a big thing to play in here. That goal he scored last week was his 20th for Chelsea, and he's only had 44 appearances in the Premier League. That's a really good scoring record. And he's actually become the 3rd quickest to 20 non-penalty goals in the Premier League history for Chelsea. Do you know the top 2? Quiz question for you both.
Zola?
No.
Vialli?
No. Diego Costa and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank were the 2. So he's ahead of some serious legends for Chelsea as far as getting
my quiz is coming back next week after that.
Okay, I look forward to it. So, he's got some serious names behind him in that list. So that's really, really impressive stuff. And I say, obviously, with this Man United side, we saw it yesterday. I think if Ruud van Nistelrooy probably will be in interim charge, even if new guy's in the stand, I think they are going to be open, they are going to be expansive, and we've seen them concede a few goals. And I'd expect them to take care of a lesser-ranked side. But I think Chelsea can give them a real toe-to-toe good game in this one and likely get a few goals. It should be an entertaining one. I do expect Chelsea to get on the score sheet, so I'm taking Jackson at a big price.
Monday Night Football, Fulham versus Brentford, 3 p.m. Eastern on Monday. Fulham are the even money favourites. Brentford plus 255. We've got Nigel's Hot Dog. We've got Jack's 1 unit play. Nigel, you are first up here with your big price runner of the weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Brentford to win it on the money line, plain and simple. Plus 275 was the price. It has been bet, I think, plus 265, but I can't believe there's a huge discrepancy between the two sides. Fulham even money, Brentford plus 265. Fulham at 10th, Brentford at 9th. Nothing in between the two of the sides, which should suggest that Brentford should be a lot shorter than that. I know Fulham outplayed Manchester City, or much better on the XG than Manchester City, but since then, a home defeat against Villa, where they were very poor the second half. Played okay against Everton, but gave away a draw, last late goal, a 1-1 draw. Brentford on the road, 4 matches, 4 losses, but they have played Liverpool, Man City, Tottenham and Manchester United. We know that they get beat by the big sides. We know they don't lose to the teams in or around them. And they've got a brilliant record in this fixture. The last 12 meetings between the two sides at Craven Cottage. 6 wins for Brentford, 5 draws and only 1 Fulham win. And prior to that, you've got to go back to 1991. Was the last time that Fulham won this fixture. And number 1 in the hit parade in April 1991 was Deep, Deep Trouble by The Simpsons. And I'm telling you now, any Fulham bettors will be in deep, deep trouble if they're taking even money here. Brentford plus 270.
How did that one go?
We're in deep. If Brentford get beat, I'll be giving dope. I've been off the beer, but I might have a few duffs if Brentford don't win this one.
Jack, you've got your 1 unit play here. What do you like?
Yeah, I think you'll be making dough in this one. So, I've gone for the goals line. Yeah. I've gone for the goals line here. Over 3 for plus money, plus 105. Both sides really front foot, really exciting attacking. I think Fulham were quite tight defensively at the start of the season. Not so much so now. I think with Brentford as well, Mbomo and Visser up front, now reunited, they are a real handful and a threat for anyone. Both of them scoring goals. It's not reliant on one of them. Both of them can score goals. It was 3-0 to Brentford last season, 3-2 the season before that, so pretty much goals in it. And you look at Brentford's away games, 12 in 4 there. So only one loss, and that was at Liverpool. We've talked about Liverpool and their tight defensive structure there. It's the only game they've not scored in this season. And Fulham, 13 goals in their 4 home games, averaging 3.25. And again, only one loss in those games as far as the over 3 goal line is concerned as well. Both teams to score in all 4 Fulham home games, 3 of the 4 Brentford away games. Again, that Liverpool game, the only one. If you're looking at both teams to score here, that's minus 186. So the traders, rightly, and I expect them to both score in this game. Therefore, we're well on our way to getting towards that goal line. So I expect them to kick on. They're also both renowned for early goals in their games. When you look at the breakdown there's been first half goals in every single one of Fulham's home games and Brentford's away games. And that will then normally lead to obviously an open and entertaining game where we expect to see goals follow on from that. It opens it right up. Monday night here in the UK should be a real good game, actually, a real exciting one to watch. So over 3 goal line for me at plus money.
Nigel, Jack, thanks for your company. Good luck to one and all. We'll keep everyone updated, of course, via our X feeds. A reminder of the boys' P&L on screen for you. The show is in profit. That is a wrap for Betting Weekly Premier League show. We'll be back next week for more picks, plays, hot dogs, SGPs. The live show, 11 a.m. Eastern, every midweek day. Follow us at Because We Win. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. From all of us for now, it is goodbye.